This is a tag video of the most impactful moments in my life. Now, looking at what's the most impactful. What is the impact? What is the impact? I would say impact is when something happens and that moment has such an effect on you that you can never change again from it. You can never go back. It's almost the same as having a self-realization. Only when you have an impactful moment is where something outside of you is impacting you. Now, it doesn't mean it has to be negative or positive. It is about it having a definitive change happening within inside of yourself. And I have so many of those moments, and that's the reason I can never unsee or unknow what I know because of all those moments. I had dozens of impactful moments with Bernard Pullman on the farm. I've had dozens of impactful moments in my life joining Desteni, walking my process of Desteni, of conflicts or connections with people. So I'm going to choose one moment that was an impactful moment in my life. And this is the day I had to leave the hospital with my son, Caesar. Just right after he was born, 3 days later, we were in the hospital for 3 days. And then on the third day, they were like, yeah, you could go. Now, the reason this was an impactful moment is because I was 23 years old, and I suppose every young adult that has a child at a young age goes through something like this. I realized the moment we put our baby son, Caesar, in the car seat, struggling 10 minutes, figuring out a car seat and securing him in the car seat, was already a impactful moment of what the fuck is happening. Because as we struggled to put our son in the car seat, securing it, and then climbing in the car and sitting in the car, there was a very harsh reality sinking into me. Like, it felt like the whole world was just crushing down on me in terms of realizing, now having a child, how fucked up this world is. I always knew this, as a point of, I can see poverty, I can see the homeless people, I can see the strugglings in our country, all the countries. But then I realized, me and my wife, with our son now in our car, has had years of training with Desteni, the Desteni I process, with living on the farm, having Bernard in our lives, having our processes that we walked with self-forgiveness, writing, and walking in self-honesty. We have matured quite early, so to say, taking on this process from the age of just before when we turned 18, or before we turned 18. And not going into, university and the partying and the studying and the playing around still, which most people do still, and they only like around 30, 36, most of my friends. They only later on become mature, or adults, if you want to call it. So here you are, this young person, and you just created a human being, and you had this sort of trust in the system, your hospitals, your governments, everything. Like, they're going to take care of you. They're going to tell you how to do things, what to do. They're going to advise you. They're going to tell you everything's going to be okay. They're going to tell you that we're always here to support you. They're going to tell you, like, don't worry, your new parents, but we got your back. And then you climb in the car with your child and you realize they just basically told you to get the fuck out of this hospital, and you're not paying anymore, so you're on your own. There's no manual. No one gave us a manual of, this is how to leave the hospital on the first day with your child. They didn't give you a manual on when you get home, this is what you do next. This is what you look out for next. The second day, you don't do this and this and this. You have to go buy these books. They are available. But that's because of people's personal experiences in making books like that. The people that runs your country, that runs your everyday life, who you pay taxes to, they don't have actual professional setups in this world to take care of anything. If the way they treat new parents with their children should be the indication of how they treat the rest of your country, and no one asked me and my wife, are you qualified to be parents? No one asked us the basic questions. No one asked us, do you know what you're doing? No one asked us, are you able and capable to do this? No one asked us, do you have the finances to look after your child? No one asked us, how is things at home? Is this child going to be safe at home? No one asked us any basic questions that is of the utmost importance bringing a child into this world. When we got the news of being pregnant, no institute also asked those questions. Everyone was just happy. No one was real with you. And that's scary. How many children that same day got born and went through the exact same experience as us? And what happens to all those children afterwards? Where do they go? What happens to their lives? What homes do they go to? What kind of parents will they be with? Looking at myself and having walked already a journey of dealing with my demons, of dealing with my shit through actual writing and self-forgiveness and physically changing myself, and still struggling and knowing that if I take this child home, I'm not going to yet be the best that I can be, because I know I'm still dealing with sexual problems or anger problems, rage problems. I still am aware of my points, and I still knew in awareness that I have to watch out for these points, where most people in this world don't have that process. So what is this child going home to? And no one bothered to sit down with me or with anyone and go, sir, do you have anger problems? Is there a possibility that you might beat your child? Is there a possibility you might take out your revenge or rage or sadness or your depression out on your child? Is there a possibility that you drink and that you'll be drunk around your child? Is there a possibility that you watch pornographic movies and violent movies around your child? Is there a possibility that you and your wife argue every single night and your child will be there? Is there a possibility that there's no food in the home? No one asks you basic questions at the point of conception and at the point of going home with that child. And there's no manual that says this is how you should be as a person with your child, and this is how you work with your child from this day on. You can get stuff personal, you can get personal stuff, yes, but I'm talking about institutes of the world. Unless you have money, you don't mean anything. Unless you have insurance, unless you have savings, unless you can pay for stuff, you are not protected, you are not safe. And that child is put into a mental institute, essentially, depending on what house they go to. Because no one knows the mental state of the parents that's taking that child home. I think what sank down on me was this experience, this impact of, if this is how it's going with me right now and with my child, then how fucked are we as humanity? And only parents know what they do in secret. And only parents know what they have done to their children. And only parents know the things they do around their children when no one else is around. And it's only them and their children. Most people claim they're good people, they're good parents, but no one gave you a manual on what is the psychological effects, what is the mental effects, what is the physical effects of just who you are as a parent. What is your state of being? What is your resonance? What are you resonating as a person? And how that affects your child. No one tells you that if you're constantly depressed or angry or sad or pretending to be happy, that affects your child in an absolute negative way. No one tells you the basics of who you should be and how you should be and how to get there, how you should change. They just accept and allow that this is how it works. This is how the world has worked thousands of years. And then I go, well, yeah, that's why the world is pretty messed up, isn't it? The world is not a better place. It's not a best place for all. Just take a look at the world. So how all of that transpired for me was a clear indication of why the world is a massive, massive mess, and why people have so many problems mentally, psychologically, and physically. Just look at the process, if you're a parent, you have gone through of leaving that hospital, going home, and look at the side effects, the side points that didn't take place, the basic points that wasn't questioned, that wasn't investigated, wasn't asked, that wasn't taken care of, that wasn't guaranteed. You have to be able to pay for all those extra things if you have the money and if you know about it. So we have a massive problem in this world. And that was a very impactful moment for me, to climb into the car with this pure, innocent child and driving out of that hospital into this fucked up, messed up mental institute of a planet we call home. Thank you.